Well, good morning, good afternoon to you. Welcome to Zyxel's Tech Talk, introducing to new partners, product introduction for Zyxel. My name is Tri Nguyen. I am the product manager and a sales manager here at Zyxel North America. Welcome to today's session. Hopefully you'll be able to get some good information about some of the products that we provide here at Zyxel, and then be able to just figure out how can we at Zyxel partner with you and providing you with networking solutions for your customers. So let's just jump right in. I do these sessions, every month or so, and we have webinars that come on every week. And so just go look into our webinar page to see what else you might be interested in. I like to have this a little bit interactive. If you feel the need to ask any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A section, and I'll be able to see those and try to answer those in line. If not, we'll have a Q&A session at the end as well to answer any further questions you may have. So let's go ahead. There's a lot of slides to cover, and so I want to jump right into it. Introduction to Zyxel. We are Zyxel Networks. We've been around for 32 years now, 100 million devices making connections. We have 600 plus employees worldwide. 700,000 businesses use our solutions in 150 markets. Also, our Nebula Cloud platform has now exceeded over 200,000 devices now in our Nebula Cloud solution there. We provide you with coverage from three different reps in 3 different regions of the country. We primarily focus on North America and Canada. So we have our West, our Central, and our Eastern Canadian representatives there, David, Andy, and Jacob. So they are the ones who are going to be your advocates for all of your questions, whether it be product questions, if you need to pull in, priority tech support, if you need to have bring in our systems engineer to help you with certain applications, or maybe to evaluate what kind of products are needed for your deployments, or for your customers for a project that you're working on. So we're here to help you. Also with questions, if you have issues or questions with distribution, we become the liaison with your distribution reps in order to provide you the support that you need. So we support all of our distribution partners that way. We are internationally recognized for our innovation and our design worldwide. We make our products, we design them, we put our firmwares on them, and we enable users to have really good feedback. And that because of that, our products are interoperable with other products that are available in the country as well, with other competitors. We've been ICAC certified for the last 20 plus years. We're one of the few vendors who have that distinction and notoriety for that. It means that our products, especially on the security side, you're talking about VPN, you talk about security, we're interoperable with other products and other competitors that are out there that also are ICSA certified. So that's a kind of a standard that we follow. We are solutions driven. If you've worked with Zyxel before, we're all about kind of end-to-end solutions as much as possible. We want you to be able to have one place to provide solutions to your customers. We're driven that way because we have control over the firmwares. We have R&D facilities both here in the US and also in our headquarters in Taiwan to deliver a whole ecosystem and kind of fulfill kind of the bridge there where you and your customers may have feedback on our products, and we're able to take that directly to our R&D to make any kind of changes, updates, improvements to kind of improve your management as a service provider and also your customers' experiences. So we're able to react quickly to that. We have a comprehensive portfolio end-to-end to deliver network solutions. If you get anything out of this webinar, the one thing I want you to remember is if there's anything that connects to a network, Zyxel has something that will connect to it. So security appliances, wireless solutions with Wi-Fi 6, PoE, fiber connections for your switches, gateway hospitality, routers and broadband routers, home routers, and then network management, both in a standalone mode with a controller or in the Nebula Cloud. So we have all sorts of levels to kind of fit whatever needs that you may need for your application, your solution, and also for maybe your business model as well, because you may have a certain way that you're delivering product, maybe you're selling it to the customer, or maybe you're even just leasing it to the customer. It all depends on your service model. And we have, products that help to fulfill every one of those kinds of models. I wanted to talk about security. I mean, especially now in today's day and age with cyber threats and cybersecurity issues that have been in the news already. It's kind of the importance of making sure that we are actively protecting our business. I know there's some news out there that there are like, malware that it's out there that has already been kind of infiltrated into some systems out there and has been detected and has been, kind of patched against. But we definitely have the capabilities to continue to monitor that and to be able to take action. So protecting a business's network, your network, or even your customer network, I feel like it's our responsibility as network technicians or network professionals to be able to facilitate that and also to educate your customers on that, to protect the businesses and protect their networks, whether it be from internal or from remote, from outside. Be able to make all those necessary mitigations of these kinds of threats, because these threat vectors are constantly changing and they come from all different directions. So some of the statistics that people don't realize is 54% of small businesses think they're too small for any kind of cyber attack. 47% of small businesses have no understanding of how to protect themselves against these cyber attacks either. So really, again, it falls upon us to be able to make sure that you as partners are educated and know about these solutions in order to take action, in order to make these kind of mitigations against these kinds of threats. So you know that the threats are there. It's just a matter of time whether or not it's going to hit these customers. People think they're too small, but there is a huge inconvenience and also money loss if they do get taken down. And especially the smaller ones, maybe the small customers, to be down for a couple of days is a bigger impact than a larger corporation that just might have one or two devices that are down for a couple of days, right? So the scale of impact is much bigger for like smaller companies. So it's really important for these small businesses to know and realize that we're here to try to protect and help in these kinds of scenarios. And there's a wide range of it. Again, there's many different ways that threats can happen. But people are using, remote connectivity, remote access, using secure VPN extenders, VPN tunnels, making sure that you're making encrypted connections when you're in a hotspot, especially in our remote work office environment. People are working from home. They're working from different offices, different locations in order to facilitate, business. So we offer a whole range of security things to make sure that you are doing it correctly, using encryption, using VPNs, using the most robust VPNs out there, using IPsec with those kinds of levels of encryption. So military grade encryption provided to the customers, and to be able to do that in an easy way. We've kind of streamlined the process as well to make it easier for VPN tunnels to be made. And I'll talk about another solution that we've also just developed as well to make this whole kind of remote connectivity better. We're using our Nebula platform and what we call secure Wi-Fi, but I'll talk about that later. Other feature functionalities to provide that frontline defense is like antivirus, that's anti-malware, content filtering, layer 7 scanning, intrusion detection. Those are able to find ways that people may be maybe using the connection, or maybe be tricked into using a certain connection, or maybe certain types of files or certain types of applications like BitTorrents that could expose the network, or maybe utilize resources on the network. We're able to find, deliver that, or see that kind of packet and be able to block it at the layer 7 area. And then now, of course, with all of this, geo, traffic that can come from all different types of countries, and especially, cyber attacks, or maybe threats that are coming from outside the country, you're able to actually reduce some of that traffic and then some of that noise, and be able to block based on IP addressing on the geo IP. So based on IP addresses that are assigned and what areas and what countries or regions they belong to, you're able to make sure that those are controlled. So maybe there could be zombie devices that are, infiltrated and are taken over and are using connectivity there, and they're able to use those devices, outside and try to launch attacks to, maybe the local network. So we're able to block and control that. Troy asked a question: how does the SSL VPN client fare against AnyConnect client? I have to see. I haven't checked what the AnyConnect client does per se, but SSL VPN in general, it's just a convenience factor that it can use a browser to make a encrypted tunnel. So it's like online banking. So we have an SSL client that you can install on the Windows machine. It's free, and on Mac, it has a nominal fee for that one, for the Mac OS. So you can use that to build the tunnel. And again, it's like a it's limited, I would say, because SSL in general, requiring the browser to do it, there's no, it's a little bit less efficient. So for just access to like secured web pages, like a CRM or something that's hosted internal, like a webmail, something like that is more than enough. But if you're trying to like load files or grab files, maybe processing some CAD files or something like that remote from the server that might be at your office, we would recommend IPsec for that because it's a lot more efficient and it has a lot higher throughput to be able to manage that kind of high file access. So making sure that your security is always available is very important as well. So making sure that your VPN tunnels are at a high level available, making sure your internet connectivity with WAN load balancing is highly available. Doing multi-WAN load balancing is also important. So you have the multiple connections, and that's very important today. Most people who have started to work remote, IT realized that their upload speeds at their offices were too slow because you would usually have asynchronous connections. You had a great download speed. So you had a 500 meg connection down, but it was like a 10 or 20 meg connection up. And that becomes a problem when people are remote trying to download files, right? And try to have connectivity. Now you have 10 people trying to share a 20 meg connection because that's all the traffic that it can be, sent upstream. That becomes a huge, burden on that. So being able to add a secondary connection, maybe a synchronous connection from fiber or, some other connection from ISP, you're able to now increase your upload speeds in that process and be able to even do virtual tunneling on that interface. So it makes a pipe that, in essence is a bigger pipe for your remote users and clients there. And of course, the failover, especially now with people working remote, if the internet connection goes down, then all of a sudden productivity also goes down because now nobody can connect. At least in the office, when everybody was still in, in the physical office, you were able to still do some level of work, right? You still had your internal stuff that would still function. But now if you're disconnected from it, completely, some of your CRMs or some of your internal, billing or whatever it is, it's gonna cause some issues. So definitely making sure that your connectivity is always available. We also have higher level of security platforms or functionalities as well in our higher end models. Things like sandboxing, botnet, malware blocking, making sure that the reputations of certain IP addresses are good to access. So real-time databases that track malicious and cyber activities with that reputation and be able to make mitigations again against that. And that happens obviously all the time. It's always tracking that and always being able to make those to mitigate these kinds of threats. And then and I mentioned earlier, intrusion prevention, being able to scan and find behaviors and malicious activities that potentially can happen that might be trying to inject certain types of software or vulnerabilities into a network. We have built-in Wi-Fi integration controllers so that you can manage our access points via the device itself or via the cloud. So that's all housed with there. You don't need a separate controller for that. Hotspot Management is a great add-on tool too. You have a lot of businesses who want to provide guest network access to even just the clients that come into the office, or maybe people who are visiting the office. So it could be, you can build it as a terms of service page where people read through terms, agree to it, and they have a separate internet connection or internet network, guest network, that they are isolated from the primary, business private network. So you're able to still offer that convenience, or you may use it for like a doctor's office where you're able to segregate that network, provide hotspot to the clients, and then be able to use that for the internal network for that, be able to VLAN that, be able to even load balance. You can even put certain types of profiles and security. So if you want the guest network to have content filter, because it's in a doctor's office and you don't want, inappropriate material or be able to open yourself up to, attacks of some sort, then you can then make sure that that's blocked, right, for just that network. And then the other network, the private network, can be controlled as you wish as well. So you have full control over that. I would tell customers, like with our security products, it can be as simple or as complicated as you want, because there is a lot of ways you can configure and use the appliance and be able to use it in very sophisticated. We have some partners who are doing it very, using it in ways that we never thought that you could use it in that way per se, or we just didn't think of using it in that kind of application, but they use it in that. And then there's others that just use this as a basic simple router, but provides them with a high level of business class security. So we have 3 ranges in our product line for the security: simplicity, flexibility, and the ultimate series. So in the simplicity series, it's focused on VPN. So it's our VPN model series. So you have your VPN 100s, VPN 50s, etc. And their main focus is to do VPN, or also SD-WAN, which is kind of an iteration of like a VPN tunnel with dynamic path selections, WAN optimization, auto VPN functionalities, and then device high availability. Again, not only are you doing multi-WAN load balancing failover for high availability, but also physically device high availability for the higher end models. So you can have active and passive capabilities there. So they can be actively functioning, or if one fails, it rolls over to the other. The flexibility model is probably the main kind of use. It's able to kind of function like the VPN tunnels as a hardware only, or it has a la carte features that you can add on to it, or you can buy it as a fully bundled with all the high performance UTM. It has enhanced UTM capabilities to be able to counter a lot of different types of filtering. Again, anti-spam, intrusion detection, content filtering, anti-malware, high performance focused on making sure that you're still able to maintain high levels of security with high level of speed to make sure that you're not, bottlenecking your connection, especially nowadays when things are increasing in the number of connectivity or WAN connections. Flexible management, you can manage it now both as a standalone device, if that's your business model, or if you want a fully cloud managed auto provision type capability, then these USG Flexes also can be used in our Nebula Cloud platform and still offer the device high availability and wireless controlling capabilities that we have in all of our firewalls. The Ultimate series is our APT series. It's the Advanced Threat Protection series. Its main difference in the features is that it provides sandboxing, enhanced UTM, where it can do both signature-based and cloud-based scanning, and then URL threat management with the botnet filters, and also the those IP reputation filters, and etc. It still provides you with a wireless controller and device high availability, but this is our kind of our flagship model, and when you need kind of the fullest features of model of threat management. And this is just a diagram that kind of shows the overall functionality of each one of those ranges and what features that are available. You could take a screenshot of that, or you can just watch the video again. We also have battle cards that contain this information. Also within our website, we'll also have some of this information as well, so you can find out what's the main differences. But mainly what I have customers and new partners focus on is they start with the flexibility. And if they don't need, anything special, no UTM, they don't care for UTM at all, they don't even want the future possibility of it and want to focus on VPN, then you can shift down to the VPN series. But then if you want to have some UTM, you can do that. But if you're working in an industry, or maybe the application somewhere, in finance or, government, something like that, that needs or requires higher levels of security, that needs sandboxing and zero-day type threat management, then you want to move to the ATP side, right? So you start in the middle and you kind of shift up or down depending on what your full needs are on that. And then of course there are some customers, some partners, you just have partners that are customers that are out there that says, give me the best one you have, right? So then you just jump to the ATP. You don't have to worry about anything in between. But if you're looking to kind of manage that budget, especially if you're a managed service provider and you want to manage your hardware costs because you're charging them just for a monthly fee and not for the hardware itself, then you can figure out which one is going to be best suited for them. We provide we partner with some of the leading security specialists out there: McAfee, Webroot, Lastline, Trend Micro, Bitdefender, to use their technology and use their expertise in our devices. So we use that to make sure that we're protecting against all different types of threats, because again, all of these vendors, all these partners here provide different layers of this holistic UTM threat management platform. And of course, we can't do it ourselves. We depend on them. They do it day to day, day in, day out on what those types of protections are. So because of that, we're able to implement their solutions, their signatures, their technology into our appliances and offer and be able to have up to 500% increase in UTM performance compared to our previous generation models. So that's a huge uptick in speed and security all at the same time. So our USG Flex Series models comes in several flavors. It's all about performance and pricing. So it's a scale of, when you need a lower end model because you have lower speeds of UTM, or maybe the WAN speed is lower, then you can use, something like a USG Flex 100. That's probably, you could find anywhere between 20 users or so, 20 devices to 50 devices, I would say, depending on the application really, and depends on the speed of the WAN connection. So how new partners, I always tell new partners, you look at if they need UTM, which is kind of the lowest denominator because it takes the most computational power and it's the lowest kind of throughput possibility. So if somebody needs UTM, like antivirus intrusion detection and prevention, you look at that UTM throughput number on the datasheet. In this case, USG Flex has a 360 megabits per second speed. That's theoretical max, meaning we pump, the largest packet sizes to see how fast or how much traffic it can actually push through. But realistically, traffic is not 100% that, packet size. So it all ranges, and there's a huge mix of, kind of packets they are. So typically what I tell partners is you take about 50 to 60% of that number, and that's what you use to kind of scale what devices to use for what connectivity. So a 360 meg connection, you're probably looking at a 200 meg, internet WAN speed that you can comfortably use for this USG Flex 100. So then, of course, if they have higher WAN speeds, you have to kind of move up the chain, move up the line there as well. So we have our USG Flex 100W, which has an AC, a Wi-Fi 5 there, and then USG Flex 200 has up the scale. We go up to the USG Flex 500, and then also the USG Flex 700 series as well. So the kind of again scaling up to the throughputs there. And we also made it flexible. If you're a partner who maybe have been using our USGs before, our legacy USGs, we've actually worked on a upgrade program that allows for you to transfer, make it easy for you to move from a USG series to a USG Flex. Now, the USG series, before when people would have to migrate, the main issue of migration was most of the customers didn't want to migrate yet until it was very close to the expiration date of whatever licenses they had. So they would wait an additional 6 months to make sure that they got the most out of their existing devices, and before they bought the new device to get new services. But what we've done is we've helped with that migration process so that they don't feel like they've lost any of that time. So let's say in this example you had a firewall, a USG that had a various expiration dates from various services. What we then do is if you buy and migrate to a USG Flex, we will normalize that to the one that has the most time left. So all of the services now will have 7 months, which then we will transfer. So we extend it for free, and then we transfer it over to the USG Flex free of charge. You're able to do that within the migration interface of the licensing interface at myzyxel.com. So that 7 months gets pushed on. Now, if you bought a device, a USG Flex that comes bundled with 1 year, so it has 12 months on it already, we will tack on that 7 months to that 12 months. So now you'll have 19 months of service on the new model. So really, it's about when the customer is ready to move on, because of they have to increase internet. They also want to have better protection. Then they move over to at any time that they want, and they don't feel like their services has been wasted per se. So we have different models that will translate. You'll see here a USG 40, goes over to the 100 Flex, etc. So there's always a benefit of faster SPI firewall throughput and also much faster UTM throughput. Now, these UTM throughput numbers don't count the enhanced UTM, which is like cloud-based. So when you use cloud-based UTM, it actually will increase these numbers even more. So if you're looking to kind of squeeze out, if it's close to, the throughputs are close to what you need it to be, but you need a little bit higher speeds and don't want to go to a higher model, you can switch it from the signature mode into a enhanced cloud UTM mode, and it will produce, higher throughput. The only negative about it is if you don't have internet connection, then you don't have a way to do cloud, a cloud scan. But so there's a cost benefit there. But definitely there's a benefit to using it. Just so you know, if you're using the USG bundles today, the USG bundles will migrate only the AV they're migrated to just an AV and CF. So anti-spam, intrusion detection is no longer available within the old USGs. So if you want to renew the old USGs, there's only a bundle that contains the antivirus and the content filtering. So just so you know that. Even though we don't have any more anti-spam on the device, we also we just released a cloud standalone email security service that I'll talk about later in this webinar as well. So you just want to be able to migrate, this across there. You can migrate configurations as well, or at least base configurations. Now, if you have like complex configurations, then those won't all migrate, but it can still help with the migration process, make it easier for you to get to this new platform as well as migrate the services there. So this is just a little bit explanation of the different licenses that are available when you buy USG Flex Series and what belongs in cloud, what features are available within the cloud, what comes part of that hardware pack when you buy the bundle. So the benefit of buying the bundle is that it also includes 1 year of the Nebula Cloud platform. So the Nebula Cloud platform lets you manage and provision them all in the cloud. But there is a little bit of a different feature set that's there. So you just have to make sure you know what you're buying. We have battle cards information on what's kind of the differences there, how it's how it may work better for you in the cloud or on the standalone mode. For standalone mode, the renewals don't come with the plus packs in certain levels. So you kind of just have to know. We'll help you through that. Once you know where the licenses are, you're able to be able to function and buy those ones. There's certain licenses you can buy on a kind of a la carte standalone, which is web filtering and anti-malware and the reporting tool. So you're able to purchase those as standalone functionalities. All of this is managed in our My Zyxel platform. So if you are a vendor, a partner, and you don't have an account yet, I advise you to go to myzyxel.com and sign up for an account. If you have firewalls already there, then you already have an account. If you are a partner, we want to make sure that you sign up for our Circle platform within that. So you can go to the top right corner. There's those three, selector boxes or like settings boxes. If you click on that, it should give you other services, and one of them is Circle. You apply to Circle, and what Circle allows for you to do is manage all the devices that you own or have on the marketplace, and also any partner or any customer devices that you're managing that have added you or that you've added as their managing, a managing entity. So you can manage their licenses that way, and you can purchase them at your partner discounts through Circle. So definitely sign up there, and it gives you logs, gives you reports on when devices are expiring, what's coming up, so that you can actively, renew and charge your customers, for those kinds of services. So you can manage that all in a single platform there. We also, with our firewalls hardware, have a great distinction. We are one of 7 brands in the world that have a VPN type gateway. All of our firewalls will do this, but a VPN gateway that is validated for both and certified for both AWS and Microsoft Azure. So we're able to make those cloud connections. So you don't have to, focus on buying, super expensive or maybe competitor products to make this kind of cloud connection. And now, of course, with cloud activities or applications are more widely available, people, especially working remote, are connected to these, CRM applications in the cloud. It's imperative that it's important that they have that kind of connectivity, especially in the office, to make that VPN connection and have that failover. Again, we go through all that certification to make sure that that VPN tunnel is always available or as much available as possible. So we're able to make those connections. So you can standardize on Zyxel to make these kinds of connections to any one of those cloud services. So a little bit about, conventional UTM, some of the threats that are required when you're using just normal UTM is you have to have it be based on signatures. You have to know what they are in order to figure out if you can block them or not. So with normal UTM, all of the anti-spam, intrusion detection, app patrol, content filtering, you have to know what they are. And so you categorize them as they are suspicious or bad, and so you block them, or you go with the good stuff and you allow for that traffic to go. But traffic these days are kind of, there's a lot of gray area. They could be good, could be bad. And if you make your settings too strict, then potentially no traffic goes through. And so customer satisfaction or usability goes down the hole. So ATP Series actually uses sandboxing and AI in the cloud to manage these kinds of kind of middle of the line types of connections. So we're able to conquer what we call unknown security threats. We can make unknown known very quickly in the cloud and be able to block against sophisticated zero-day type threats. So this might be something that is a good story for customers who may be facing potential threats that are out there. The more devices that we have out there means that the more eyeballs we'll have to finding these kinds of potential threats and be able to share that threat mitigation across the entire infrastructure and across the entire ecosystem through the cloud. So ATP is able to block suspicious traffic, and while it's still able to maintain high speeds. So those known files will be isolated, and that's kind of how it functions, how we block unknown threats. So you have some unknown threats that are coming. Maybe it's a zip file or some sort. We see some of that information. We don't recognize what it is, so we send it off to the cloud. So in the cloud sandbox, it will emulate that. It looks for behaviors. Maybe it's making connections to other countries or some sort of weird server or some other country, or it's trying to install some sort of file, whatever it may be. It's done within the sandbox, and based on the AI, it can use that to create different types of packet patterns. It contains all that and creates and identifies if it's malicious or not, and then throws it into the defense intelligence, and then updates new signatures that are then provided to the entire ecosystem. So the more devices that are using this ecosystem across, our partners that provide this cloud security, the more threats that are there, the more that it protects, overall. So as long as it's detected somewhere and it's sent to the sandbox, then all of a sudden everybody else will be then inoculated from it. So kind of that's the overall, general way that the sandboxing function works. So our ATP series is mapped very much like our USG Flex. So it helps you to just, again, start with the USG Flex. And if you have you've scaled it to a USG Flex 100, if they want the higher sandboxing security, move up to the ATP 100. If they don't want one, you can go move down to the VPN series. But that's kind of where you start there, is the USG Flex. So you have that. You also have ATP 500, 700, and the flagship has an ATP 800, which has the highest capacity that we offer here currently for this kind of UTM purpose. So now that we talked security, I want to talk about how we manage all of this and how you as partners, as customers, can utilize the cloud to really offer hassle-free network management, free network management, free hassle-free, I guess that's what we can call it, free hassle-free network management. It's hassle-free because you can actually set up the whole system without even unboxing the device. There are QR codes on the package, even on the belly label of the device itself. You can register those devices via the Nebula Cloud Controller app, or you can just type it into the NCC controller there. But with the app, you can scan it and you can choose, which client or which customer this belongs to, which site it belongs to, and now it's ready to go. It's basically going to wait for the moment it can get internet connectivity, and once it gets internet connectivity, it could be up in minutes, because then it will download the firmware, it will download its configuration, and be able to go up. So you can pre-configure these devices even before you even scan them. Technically, you can create templates, you can create device configurations that are there ready that you can apply to these kinds of devices. So you can even have cookie cutter type sites where you've tested and you've confirmed that if you use an AP, a gateway, and a switch, this particular one, you can load that configuration file. So when you have a new customer, let's say a doctor's office, you can go and just apply that to that site. Then you make some tweaks to maybe the SSID, if they have a static internet connection or IP address, you can make that change. And again, as long as it's installed correctly and it has internet connectivity, it'll dial home, it'll get all that information and download its firmware and its configuration file. So that means you can do this without any additional hardware or software. We don't require you to install a server at the local. There's no cloud key. There's no controller that you have to install in that remote location. It's all housed within the devices that support Nebula and the agents that are there. So you can configure, you can monitor them without the need for that additional kind of visibility. It's all reported back and talks into the cloud platform. So that means you have access to the configurations, to the interface, and to the devices anywhere you have internet connectivity in a browser. So you can use a tablet, a mobile device, a PC, laptop, whatever it is, to access the Nebula Control Center. And you're able to do all the configurations that you need to via that platform. We even have a dedicated app that lets you have visibility and notification capabilities of that as well. So really the cloud is kind of the ultimate way for you to kind of pull everything together. You can even do within this platform guest network access, captive portal, user device management, auto guest protection with guest isolation. You can deploy Wi-Fi with smart mesh capabilities, be able to use the meshing capabilities of our access points to make connections, even through a cloud provision functionality. You can enable WPA security to do radius authentication or even 802.1x security, be able to roam between devices, between APs, and then have assisted roaming there. So we have all those standards that are available there. Even at the core of it, we're in the managed switch level to power these access points. You're able to provide what we call intelligent PoE, smart PoE that is budgeted, and we'll talk about more about our PoE, but it's able to budget against what the devices actually draw. So you're able to give much more capacity to that network or to that AP network. Things like ACL, VLANs, be able to segregate networks. Again, loop guard, some of these security features, MAC address guarding. So be able to freeze MAC addresses so that people can't install or put another router into that device, and be able to get connections, or even DHCP guard. So in case somebody does put a router there, that they're not causing a DHCP across your entire network there and causing people not being able to get out to the internet. Be able to provide switch configurations and stacking capabilities from a single pane of glass. So you're able to manage multiple switches in the network, all kind of in the same similar interface there. You can apply that across the board. You can get updates. You can schedule firmware updates, changes through the cloud, and be able to push that. So it's really cool if you want to schedule certain things that you're doing. You want to make sure that it's done like after hours. You can do that as well to schedule that via the cloud. And then we've also integrated some VPN capabilities within the Nebula Cloud to make it easier for you to connect VPN devices, either LTTP or IPsec type connections, into a firewall. Also, connectivities between firewalls to make connections as well. You can do that with just some simple clicks in the cloud. You can manage all of your clients from a single pane of glass. So you're able to manage multiple organizations, which is multiple customers, and each customer has multiple sites. So you have kind of that hierarchy that you're able to then manage all these different types of customers and then give access to certain levels as well. So with some of our MSP packages, you're able to then provide certain admins, certain access to certain sites or certain customers and organizations. So to be able to manage maybe multiple regions, maybe multiple service areas, so that you can do that efficiently there. So you can do that organization. You get visibility on the dashboard to see general network health, that you can look at it from an organizational level, drill into a site level, and then drill in even to the device level, and then further down into the client level. So you have all that visibility. You can see real-time traffic information. What was the most websites in the last 24 hours people visited, how much bandwidth, what kind of applications were used, how much power is being used, how much overall traffic has been used. All of that information in the dashboard, and it's customizable as well. So maybe certain sites you only need certain information, you can put that in the widget. The cool thing is you can also then give access to maybe the IT manager or maybe the CEO that you're managing the site for, and they can log in themselves, be able to get the visibility, but they can't make any changes. You can do that as well, and really shows good value for this kind of cloud product. Also, we have a lot of troubleshooting tools that we've integrated into it. So you can do remote CLI to the device. You can do cable diagnostics on fiber and the copper. You can do speed test and ping test from the device. You can get an automatic topology view to see how things are connected. Maybe some things are connected in a way that you didn't think it was. So you can see what the switch, what these devices are seeing. And then you have these detailed logs as well that is capturing. So in case you have audits and stuff like that you need to do, or maybe you have to look back, there was some sort of attack coming from a certain IP. You can then see kind of when that was happening and kind of, make some assessment there. We also have notifications that you can turn on that can access and notify your app or your devices, or send email, etc. too as well. That can process through maybe your ticketing system. And the great thing is it has visibility of devices that are connected. This is a great tool for me when I'm troubleshooting people who've installed Wi-Fi, and they may, if they have a customer who says, "Well, I have some poor Wi-Fi connectivity," you can actually see what kind of devices, which APs those devices are connected to, what their signal strength is, and be able to mitigate that. Maybe it's looking like they shouldn't be connected to that access point, which is really far away. In this access point that's closer to them, they're not connecting to it. Maybe it's because that there's too much power. And we'll talk about having, different ranges of power to make sure you have good coverage, but also not cause interference and cause bleed over that may cause users to stay connected to a poorer Wi-Fi connectivity. So we're able to do that and hand people off. So that visibility is great to have, and it's something that it's very difficult to get visibility of in the past, right? Even if you did like a Wireshark and you were doing some scans there, as a site survey, it's very difficult to see. And so this kind of summarizes it all from the access point's point of view. So you can see what the access point's seeing based on that client that's there. And of course, we have a free platform. So we offer a free Nebula Cloud as the base level. But of course, in order to get some of these higher end features, longer logging and auditing for a year's worth of logs, you move up to the higher tiers of services. So we have a Nebula Flex level, which can be used as a standalone or as a free Nebula, but then you can increase them, or you can get the licensing to make them a pro package. Some of our devices, like I mentioned earlier with our USG Flexes, is you buy the hardware with the 1 year bundle. It comes with the Nebula Flex Pro. So that means you get all the full features in the professional version, and you can use that in the Nebula Cloud from day one. Now, keep in mind though, Nebula with an organization, if you have devices that are in a particular organization, they need to be all pro in order for the organization to be pro. So if you need to divide customers who are in standalone only, or maybe just on the free side, make sure they don't have devices that are pro in there, because it'll revert to the lowest common denominator basically. So it will go to the base pack. So you'll have that. So if you want to have an access point, a gateway, and a switch in the pro, they all have to have the pro licensing. So just make sure you keep that in mind. With some of the features in the pro level, or even with not even just pro, but we've added some functionality to help with remote access users. Of course, there's been a shift. Everybody's have the ability to work remotely, or in areas at home, but security tends to be the issue. I mean, I think that people were trying to connect or making connections very quickly and easily, but they were sacrificing security because they were just working off their home network, and maybe just connecting in ways that maybe not as secure. So even with VPN, they weren't making VPN connections, but their entire network could be compromised. So we've actually created a product called Secure Wi-Fi. It's a feature function that enables you to deploy an access point and be able to connect it back to the office network firewall and create a secure tunnel. So in this example here, you're using a secure tunnel via like an IPsec or an SSL VPN to make the secure tunnel, but you can now drop in a remote AP in the home, which then can have access from the inside out, make a connection to the office network, can be managed also with Nebula to make that connection, to make that configuration or who it belongs to, and creates a layer 2 tunnel through the internet. So encapsulated L2, and it allows for you to have connectivity to the office network as if you sat in the office. So it's very plug and play. If you have a laptop that's been assigned and connects, in the office using 802.1x, you can have it when it comes home, sees the same exact SSID, and also is 802.1x authenticated, but then has a tunnel that's built back to the office. So it's really plug and play, and it allows for you to extend things, like printers and et cetera. So you can then, if you have a remote billing or invoicing person, and they are, processing these orders, when they process it and print it, it can actually print over to the remote warehouse, printer, which then the operations people will then pick and pack and ship the devices as need be. So you can have that all integrated while somebody's still remote without having to use VPN tunnel. And it's nice because then it's separate from a home network that has your smart TVs and all these smart devices that potentially could also get compromised in that and expose the corporate network from that. So this kind of helps to mitigate that. The other application that I see is very beneficial is maybe in a work office that is kind of remote and transient, right? So you may have a customer who's doing construction and they need internet connectivity. And so all you need is some sort of LTE router that can connect to this access point. That access point can then build a tunnel through to the office network, and now you have this remote office, extension anywhere you have that kind of combination of product. So being able to operate that way, and then be able to be transient because you can move that as in 2 months or whatever, and move that entire application somewhere else. So it's really a nice application to use that for. We also have collaborative defense as well. So we've created a collaborative defense response so that using this in the cloud, using our firewalls, using these access points, if it detects certain types of threats, it actually can move these devices and these cyber threats to the edge. So it can block them at the wireless access point side and isolate them to further, prevent them from, making some sort of, extra threats, or be able to send malware or whatever it is within the network. So we're able to isolate those out, because especially in maybe guest networks or hotels or private networks, there are probably many devices that are probably virus infected or malware compromised that go into the network and use the connection as normal, because they're unknowingly infected. So this is one way that to help to mitigate those kinds of threats. And like I mentioned, we have a base pack, a plus pack, and a pro pack, and an MSP pack that can be applied to any of these. So it's all about management. It's like feature sets. So if you want to learn more about what those feature sets are and kind of the main differences of it, we have Zyxel Nebula battle cards that we can send you. So just reach out to one of the sales reps that we mentioned earlier, Jacob, David, or Andy, and they'll be happy to send you that information. And we will send that off to you to show and help you, think through which one is best for your business model. We have customers that will do the base pack for their set it and forget it type customers. And then on the rest of the networks that provide a managed service, they go to the pro pack. We do offer the plus pack. Some people will use them because it's just a little bit more functionality than the base pack. But most of our customers who are doing, MSP type applications, they're in the pro pack level. So I mentioned earlier about cloud and our anti-spam not available in our older USG models. So what we've introduced is what we call cloud email security. It's kind of a holistic solution. It's in the cloud. It's integrated with whatever you already have available, whether it be a server or it's a cloud service or a cloud email. We've integrated with that. So it can actually SSL and inspect. There's no physical installations that you have to install. It supports all of the SNMP protocols that are there. It can protect, within the Office 365 and the Google Suite on-premise emails, and also on-premise emails type applications. It protects against email fraud, phishing attacks, and then the spam, of course. So you're able to get real up-to-date security and real-time threat intelligence via that cloud platform. And you have access to a lot of the cloud like data or the information on these threat vectors and how it's blocking these types of emails. So you'll be able to see that within your dashboard. But it protects against malware, outbreaks of viruses, Trojans that could be sent through the email. It can be identified very easily and very quickly and be able to notify, take action. Anti-phishing emails as well. We all are dealing with that, especially it's opportunistic right now with certain different types of news or types of urgencies of things. A lot of times you'll have an invoice that comes through and says, I need to process this right away. Again, sense of urgency. And, you click on the invoice and it realizes that it's a, phishing email or a malware application. And so it can be, very detrimental to the company if then your computer's compromised. And of course, dealing with anti-spam, you're able to actually enable precise differentiation between like what you want to spam and legitimate bulks as well. So you don't get a lot of the false positives, right? So there's a lot of those emails that will be, I always have to go and check, my spam box just in case there's a false positive, because there's legitimate email that falls into the spam box for whatever reason. So moving on to the Wi-Fi side of our business, you may be deploying Wi-Fi and wondering, hey, I have a lot of users. I've deployed even more access points, but why am I not getting the quality improvement? I've used the latest technology, and I'm still, it's still not great, right? We've run into those Wi-Fi issues before. And so really what the issue is that in order to achieve higher speeds, you have to use more channels because it's kind of a limited spectrum space. And that growing demand of devices means that there's more interference. And so there's a lot of what we call code channel interference. And that's what causes kind of the poor application or poor usability of Wi-Fi networks. So let's take a look at how smart antenna works and how it can help to mitigate this. So here's an example of a static antenna. It doesn't have smart antenna or anything. It's just broadcasting a signal. There may be some interference that's happening, and that interference is, causing the network to not work as great. So then the devices that are trying to make that connection is suffering. In the case of a smart antenna, the smart antenna will be also still facing those kinds of interference, but what it does is it looks at 700 different optimized patterns and be able to communicate with these Wi-Fi clients. So it looks at 700 patterns, finds kind of the best mitigation, best pattern. So it listens to it better while mitigating noise behind it. And it also speaks better to the device. So it's doing it all independent of the device itself. So it's handled on the AP side. So there's nothing that's required or needed in the Wi-Fi client end to get the benefits of this. So that beam is then optimal. And even when the client moves around, it will then change its patterns and do that accordingly. You may not have a microwave, but another huge, source of this code channel interference is other access points, even within the same network. So even if you've deployed your access points, all those access points are potentially creating noise. So in a larger environment like a hotel, you also may have to lower your power so that you have a shorter range and put more access points in, right, to fill in that gap, not just blasting a giant, a giant coverage to try to see if it can penetrate many walls. So kind of the technique I use for hotels is if it passes 2 or 3 walls, then it's probably too much. So you have to count like a front wall, maybe a divider wall, even a bathroom wall, and use that accordingly to make sure your signal is able to penetrate those walls, no matter what it is, because even now you have 2.4 gigs and 5 gigs. 5 gigs is the better speed, has more channels, but it can't penetrate walls as well. So floors will count as well. So floors is actually a bigger wall. So if you're already passing through a floor, unlikely, it may cover just the one below it and the one above it. But if it then has to pass through another like dividing wall to try to get to another room, then that's going to be a problem. So really, most people deploy APs within the floor, and then also offset them, right? So you'll have one here, one here, one here, but then down at the bottom floor, you may have one further down, and then it's like offset. So it's not just directly above each other, but they're all shifted, back and forth. So if you're looking at it from floors, you'll see APs like zigzag down, right? Because then they can kind of bleed over, but then also make sure that you're not causing more interference, because that's the biggest one, is interference that people are causing to each other. And it's a lot of noise. It's like all this traffic is coming together. It's an analogy I use where I have 3 kids, and if all 3 kids are just like yelling and screaming at me going, give me this, give me this, give me this, or I need you, I need you, I need you, then all of a sudden it's just noise. I can't process it. And that's how Wi-Fi works. Now we do have abilities to mitigate that with smart antenna. So it's able to do that, listen to each one better. So it keeps the focus on each one of those. So it increases capacity, increases coverage, reduces interference, and does it very efficiently. And we back all of our Wi-Fi and our business class products with a lifetime warranty. So the way that we design it, we also mitigate interference through our design, and we fine tune it again because we are, controlling the hardware and the software to be able to control it, to optimize it as best as possible. So most of the access points are deployed here. We have our AC models. So now the difference between our AC models and our other models, our WAX models, is that, let me just try to go through this. I think my Wi-Fi that I'm connected to right now is a little bit slow to react to the cloud here. So our WAC, this one with the S at the end, is our smart antenna technology. So anything that has that -S will be what you want to use for the smart antenna. And then on our 11, sorry, I'm kind of like going through these really quick here because we're running out of time like usual. We have a lot of things to cover. That's kind of our problem. There's a lot of products, and we are obviously excited to tell you about. These came out last year. So our 11AX, so our NWA series, our flagship is our WAX 650S. That's the one that has a smart antenna. The benefits of AX is that it has a multi-stream capability. So it has a MIMO and also multi-stream, and it allows for you to kind of talk to multiple devices at the same time rather than just one at a time. So then it basically makes it so, overall throughputs can be increased, and usability, and customer satisfaction is a lot better, especially when you combine it again with the smart antenna technology, be able to mitigate those. On the switching side, I wanted to cover it really quick with our switches, especially if you're new, how we use our naming conventions here. ES just stands for a fast Ethernet switch. GS is the primary switch that we use now, is a gigabit switch. Our XS series is mostly 10 gig, so it's a Roman numeral for 10. So that includes our multi-gig and 10 gig switches. XGS is primarily a gigabit switch with 10 gig uplinks. And then you'll see some MGSs and type series that come up. Those are more like metro carrier. They typically have like AC and DC connections. And then if it ends in a P or an F, then P stands for HP stands for PoE, and F just stands for fiber. And then some of the ports have combo ports where they're a mix between fiber and copper. Those are shared ports typically, so you can only use one or the other at a time. You can't use both at the same time. And then the fiber comes as SFP and SFP+. SFP is just gigabit fiber ports, and SFP+ is transceivers that will take you to 10 gigs of connectivity. So you just have to use the appropriate transceiver for different loop links, different types of fiber, single mode, multi-mode, and then of course the speed if it's SFP and SFP+. And then PoE, primarily what we provide is the PoE Plus, and now we just came out with PoE Plus Plus, the Ultra PoE 60 watt models. So you have 30 watts in the PoE Plus and 60 watts in the PoE Ultra PoE. So those are all special in a way that we use smart PoE. We use intelligent processing of our PoE budget to make sure that you can then maximize how many devices you can install. So you're able to detect the draw of the devices, and because of that, you're able to allocate just what they draws to the budget. So you can maximize the power utilization of these devices, and you can also schedule power to be turned on and off as well. So for example, let's say you're allocating power to an access point, an IP camera that has pan tilt zoom. It's classified as a class 4, which takes 30 watts of power if you just classify it. So if you want to power 20 of these pan tilt zooms, it's going to cost you a budget of 600 watts. So you have to find a switch that does that. So it's more expensive, it's more power, more operating cost, etc. But in Zyxel's case, because of smart PoE, we look at the consumption, that draw, that AP or that camera will only use 16 watts typically. So we're able to provide 20 cameras with power at only a budget of 320 watts. Again, maximizing that 375 watts that we have on our our switches. And so that primarily works for most of our higher or mid-tier and higher end switches. But you also have some low-end budget switches here too that can provide you with, some PoE power, maybe a couple ports for PoE. But then we have products that will range from 120 watts all the way to, like 1,000 watt PoE capabilities. So depending on the range that you're looking for, the type, the management, whether you want cloud, PoE, etc., it depends on your range. So we'll work with you on that. And if most of the people, just like the USG Flex is kind of the midline that you want to start with, the GS 1920 and XGS 1930 series is where you'll probably start where, with your, applications. It provides you the flexibility of using it as a standalone or in the Nebula Cloud. So it's Nebula Flex there. It's a web managed switch, has high 375 watt PoE power budgets with and without 10 gig, and also a multi-gig series. So the XS 1930 series is our multi-gig type switch for Wi-Fi 6 applications, or if you're trying to find 2.5 and 5 gig capabilities in a switch, that's where you go as well. So it also offers our 1930 series, offers what we call PoE Plus or Ultra PoE. So this is using the existing cable, Cat5e, Cat6, or Cat6a. You can go certain distances to be able to provide, up to 10 gigs and still provide 60 watts of power. So this diagram kind of splits it up there with, 1 gig connections. You can go 100 meters on any of those cables. 2.5 gigs can go on any of those cables at 100 meters. 5 gig all the way up to that. But if you want 10 gig, you have to use Cat6 to go 55 meters or Cat6a to go to the full 100 meters and provide all that PoE for that distance. So you just have to map it out, how you're using it, what access points. Some of our higher end access points, like our WAX650, requires you to use like an XS 1930 or a PoE injector that provides the 60 watt standard, so it can maximize all of its antennas to be able to work and turn on. And it also has multi-gig ports, so it's like a 5 gig port uplink. So again, in order for you to maximize the throughput speeds that are available to that, you have to use a multi-gig switch. So if you're thinking about that, you got to make sure that that's all available. Make sure that you use that in your development of your applications. So this is a multi-gig, has 8 ports and 10 gig uplinks with PoE, or the version there is a 10 port or with an uplink, but with 10 gig uplinks with and without fiber, copper and fiber, and then multi-gig PoE ports. So it has 8 ultra PoEs. So this 8-port switch here has a budget of 375 watts. So the XS 1930-12 HP has that much power in just an 8-port box. So you can see, why you would need something like this for like an AX type applications who will need that power. I think the AX APs will utilize, like on a draw, I think around about 32 watts each. So that's kind of the main reason why you want to use a 60 watt. Otherwise, it will work in a degraded mode, which then you're not getting the full functionality and full power of that. So we throw in we're channel focused, and we have a partner program. It's called our Zyxel, our Zyxel approved partner program. That's ZAP. And we want you to join. If you've not joined, you go to our silver tier. In order to maintain silver, you just have to do 6K in 6 months. So that's 1K a month in order to maintain that. But we want you to move up to gold, which is 12K in that 6 month period. So 2K a month. It gives you the maximum benefits, gives you the maximum discounts at distribution. We work with DNH, Ingram, Synix, Wave, Target, and Pace International for that. So if you want to work with any of those, you can, again, if you don't have accounts with any of those and want to work with them, talk to our sales reps. We can help you to get in touch with those distributors and get you on board with that. But really, there's no cost to you to join this program. It's just a matter of what you do in sales. And if you're just doing normal business, like being able to be a gold partner with us is very easy to do. It's just like a couple projects, really, and you are able to do that for the year. So we're able to provide you and support you through this program and provide you with tools and access to lead referrals, systems engineers, advanced replacements, and also leasing and financing type capabilities as well. So we want to be here to support you. If you want to connect with us at LinkedIn or on YouTube, that's our addresses there, Zyxel-US-channel at LinkedIn. and Zyxel America channel over at YouTube. If you want to find out more about our webinars or maybe some of our previous webinars, also some other videos that we also have launched as well, go check it out on YouTube there. Now, if you have any other questions, this is your time. This is a Q&A. We don't have much time because we've already gone 5 minutes over. I apologize for going over there, but we covered 123 slides in this time. So it was very quick, very quick. But if you have any questions, feel free to send it there. If not, you can always email me as well. Email me or some of our sales reps, try@zyxel.com. Or you can reach out to the sales reps directly with your questions and they can forward it or answer it as need be. So because we are over, if there's any questions, please feel free to send me an email. If there are any topics that you would like me to cover in any kind of future webinars as well, we'd love your feedback. And if you're interested in knowing some more things about certain areas, send me an email. We'd love to be able to schedule that and get that in there to keep these, informative for you and be a positive experience for you as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. And we look forward to seeing you and working again with you and being your network ally. So thank you for joining Zyxel.